Hello, my friends, it's Georgie from Tittle Tattle Tarot. In today's reading, I want to have a look at the early days of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip's marriage, at the time when they lived on Malta in a place called Valletta. I believe that they got married in about 1947, and I think it was a couple of years after their marriage. They'd already had Prince Charles. And I think it was about from 1949 to 1951, they lived in Malta on that sort of little islandy part of Malta called Valletta. Beautiful, beautiful place. I was there, probably about 15 years ago, and it is absolutely beautiful. So that's where they lived, and that was their home for 2 years. And there's very little written about it. It said that it was a very important time to both of them. Not only were they recently married, but they felt like a normal married couple, as much as a prince and princess could be normal. It was before the king died, so she was still very much Princess Elizabeth. For this reading, I'm just going to refer to them as Elizabeth and Philip, because they were embracing being just a normal naval wife and a naval officer. So for this reading, I'm trying to tap into the energy of Elizabeth and Philip, 1949 to 1951. So I want to know a little bit more about Valletta, about their life on the island, and I'd like to know it from each of their perspectives. So I'm going to pull a few cards for Elizabeth and a few cards for Philip, and just see what kind of vibe I can get from each of them about those early idyllic years of their marriage. So first of all, I'm going to pull for Elizabeth, as she was at the time the Duchess of Edinburgh. So Elizabeth, a young naval wife in Valletta, Malta, during those early years, 1949 to 51. So please show me the energy. Please show me her thoughts, her feelings, her energy for those years, for that time. Anything you can show me, cards, regarding Elizabeth's energy. I'm going to take from the top after this next pass, after this next one. Okay. That's about right. Okay. So Elizabeth, first of all. So because of space, I'm going to go underneath with Prince Philip. Okay, Elizabeth here on the top row. Well, what a wonderful start. It was just like a very grounding experience for her. She felt just one of the rest. She just felt like the same as everybody else, a naval wife, doing the normal things in life, going shopping, just the normal, everyday, earthy things of life, walking around Valletta, shopping, just being a normal, grounded person. And that meant an awful lot to her. That was so important to her. And she's really a woman of speaking the truth. And she didn't hide and have to pretend to be something that she wasn't. She didn't have to put up with people speaking to her in a different way. People just called her Elizabeth, I believe, and were just very straight talking with her. And she spoke to other naval wives and had very good conversations with them, the kind of conversations and doing the kind of things that she wouldn't have done in a palace at home, surrounded by the royal family. She was treated as one of the girls, I think. And I think it took her a little while to just drop that defense, drop that feeling that she was separate. So I think it just took her a little while to acclimatize. But once she did, she fully embraced life on Malta. I think when you've lived that kind of princess life, you're always going to have your boundaries up a little bit. You're always going to be a little bit nervous around people, not quite sure maybe how to come across in certain situations, because your life has not um, involved those situations. So it was very much a learning experience for her, how to just drop her final defense, this last one that she's holding here, how to drop that and just fully embrace life on Malta. So a little bit nervous at first, but I don't believe that lasts. There was only just that one just holding her back a little bit, but she soon dropped that and just fully embraced being a naval wife. And then we have Philip. And Philip, I mean, Queen of Pentacles and the Emperor, I mean, that's him and her. How wonderful. What a lovely relationship. His wife, just enjoying this time, being being just so happy and grounded. They were going to dances, she was out shopping, she was doing it all really. And he was probably seeing her in a way that he hadn't seen her when she was part of the royal family in the UK. She was probably much more staid and much more buttoned up. So I think that this, made her blossom as a wife, made her blossom as a woman, very sort of earthy, natural, carefree. And there's him, the emperor. He saw himself as an emperor. He wasn't there yet. He was only a prince. He was just a naval officer. But in his world, he was an emperor. And very much, this is sort of Philip energy in a way. I should imagine he was king of his own house. And, this was at a time when I think that Philip called the shots. He was in charge. Later on, tables would turn, because she was elevated to queen status, she became in charge, but he relished this time on Malta because he was king of the castle, and he said what went. And I don't mean that in a cruel way or in a dictatorial way, but he was master of his own house, and she was cooking and she was doing all these domestic things, and I think he absolutely loved it. And the Page of Wands, well, they had a son at home, Charles, and obviously that is on their mind. Their son was not with them during this time. He was at Sandringham, and he was with the king and the queen in England. So I'm sure this Page of Wands probably represents the young energy of their son. So that was a little bit of loss and missing their son. So you've got two cards here. It's quite interesting underneath each other that not horrendous, but they're kind of this one here where Elizabeth just felt a little bit just guarded, and this one here with Charles being away from them at Sandringham. So they're the two sort of areas that weren't 100% good. But look at these really excellent cards, just settling into life so well. Two aces here. You can't get better than that. And then underneath, Queen of Pentacles and the Emperor, just really loving life. So let's just go a little bit further. Let's go into the center of the deck and see what we've got. And we'll have Elizabeth on this side and Prince Philip on this side. And we'll just see what we can get from the center. Very center of the deck. Where should we go? Oh, let's go there. Wheel of Fortune for Elizabeth. The royal family for Prince Philip. Yes, I mean, I think her life had just changed so very much for Elizabeth. Wheel of Fortune. I mean, how things had taken a 180 turn, really. being married to this man had opened up her world in a different way. She was now living in a different country. She was experiencing life on a much greater scale than she ever had before. She wasn't being closeted in a castle. Here she was dancing and shopping, and the Wheel of Fortune's going round, and she's enjoying that journey. Very much a good card here, the Wheel of Fortune, in this way. It's up the right way, she's at the top, and she's enjoying this ride tremendously. These 2 years were so important to her. And then we have Prince Philip, and he was very much going to be a very central part of the royal family. This is like the royal family card. And things would change. In I'm not quite sure, 2 years after, about 1951, the king, Elizabeth's father, was starting to fade in health. And so, I think Philip knew that when that happened and they went back to England, that his time as the emperor, his time as master of his own home, and, being very much the man who the household ran around, was going to come to an end, because he knew this duty to the royal family was lying ahead of him, and his duty to his wife, Elizabeth. So I think this was like sort of the calm before the storm, if you like, with the royal family for Prince Philip. So it was a little bit bittersweet. With her, it was her time of great freedom, and with him it was his time of being the master of his home, the master of the house. And then in 2 years' time, things would change dramatically. With the death of the king, her Wheel of Fortune would move again, and she would be less free, and that wheel wouldn't be as dizzy as it was in Malta. She wouldn't be able to go to balls and shop and gossip and do all those wonderful things. She'd be much more, the queen, and stayed and in her truth. And Prince Philip knew that in a year or so, 1951, that when the king died, this royal family card, when the king died, that they would be going back home to England, and then it would be time to settle, and that he would very much no longer be the main person, the man who ran the house. He would have to take somewhat of a backseat to his wife. So a little bit bittersweet there. But their time in Malta was so special to them. A few little things, the fact that their son, who Charles was probably only a year old, he was over in England. So obviously there is that sadness there. This young boy that's with her mother and father, the king and queen. And then the queen just being a little bit shy. She was a young woman, being a little bit shy and holding up her boundaries. But that all soon went. And what a wonderful time they had. A little bit bittersweet, knowing that it couldn't last. It couldn't last. But I think that they always look back on that time as extremely important to their relationship, and, to who they later became, or whom they later became. So just really interesting. I just wanted to just throw the cards, see what came out. And that is what the energies of Elizabeth and Philip tell me about when they were young, before they were queen, and before he was the prince of... before he was Prince Philip. I had to think about what his correct title would be. Before he was Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that one. A little bit of a backstory on Malta and their feelings about it. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.